Good afternoon, Sean. Welcome back.
What's so good about it, Ron? Look at the weather out your window.
I'm looking out the window now and I can just about see out the glass. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
You want to clean them glasses, mate? Clean them glasses. Yeah, it's mid-November. I'm not overly surprised. Are you? It's sort of
No,
winter time. Seems to have been bypassed this year. We've gone straight to winter, I think.
but I think that's a fact. Yeah. I mean, I'm watching Cheltenham on my phone as we're talking. You can barely see anything. It's like they're running through a mist. And
Yeah.
apparently they're going to get up to 20 millimeters of rain between now and 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. What that's going to do to the ground, I haven't got it. Well, I've got a clue, but geez.
We're all second guessing because at the same time it's pretty windy, so it stops raining and the wind carries on.
Yeah.
It could dry out. If it carries on raining, it'll be a bottomless pit.
Yeah.
Not a good one for that, but we'll come to that later. We've got plenty to talk about first before we get on to
Yeah.
the racing.
Can I start with an apology for last week?
Yeah, what did I do wrong? Oh, right.
No, it's what we did wrong. We missed off our something for the weekend.
Lucky them.
No, not
Personally,
looking down. No. I went and nailed the 4-1 winner. And fortunately, Andy will have paid for his Guinness this week by courtesy of the 4-1 winner. But yeah, apologies for that. I mean, you had it in the podcast anyway, so you missed nothing other than the fact that I didn't put it up as my something for the weekend. Yeah, sorry about that.
yeah. Funny old week last week again.
Well,
It's that time of year.
I don't know.
Why we chose this time of year to start doing this is anybody's guess.
I
But
know.
yeah,
We must be nuts.
who's fit and who's not, who's scored well, who hasn't, etc., etc. But
Yeah,
that's the excuses out the way for now. We'll carry on with as we have done for many years. Where are we going
indeed.
to start with? You pointed out this gambled on horse.
Did, yeah. It was last Sunday.
Hmm,
And I said, have you seen what's just gone on in Ireland?
and I hadn't.
Now, I've no idea what price this horse opened up at. It was called Crocora Hills. And it's one of JP McManus's, so he must have kept it for a reason.
Yeah,
It had 4 runs last season, and on each of them it finished 7th. On
consistent.
Sunday, it's been absolutely punted off the boards. When I say punted off the boards, I noticed it and I put it in my OMS section, and it was 3-1 into 9-4. But they just kept piling on, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? It went off 6-5 favourite, won by 5 lengths. So I looked again at its form from last year. 4 runs, it went off 100-1, 12-1, 66-1, and 12-1. But all it needed last Sunday was a hands and heels ride to go in by 5 lengths. Was it racing first time after a window? We'll never know.
Well, yeah, they'd have to declare them over there, do they?
No, they don't. No.
I went back over the form as well and had a look. Stepping up in
Form.
trip. She was stepping up in trip. She won over hurdles over a similar distance, and Mark Walsh was back in the saddle.
Yeah.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing when you can look back after the result and find out
Yeah.
what happened. I can't pretend for a moment that I would have spotted it on the form book because I wouldn't have
No.
done.
No.
I looked into the Irish stewards' report to see what they'd said and whether they'd asked any questions. And they didn't, basically.
No.
They did report on that race. They reported that Part of the Giant was finished slightly lame after stopping quickly before making a mistake at the last, but no mention of an improvement in form. Now, okay, the Irish have their own rules. They're entitled to do what they want. They're not in the UK, but I'd be disappointed if the BHA didn't ask more questions than that, had that happened
Yeah.
in the United Kingdom. We all sit here working out our bets, whether it's you and I going through the form for other people or people going through their own methodology, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised, other than the betting, if anyone had spotted that on the form book. If you'd put a marker line straight through
You would.
the betting or the forecast betting, there is no way on earth that you would have found that on the form book.
No. There's
So,
no way on earth it should have gone off 6-5 favourites.
no, well, one like a 6-5 favourite as well. That's the issue, I suppose. It'd be interesting to see where she goes next and whether she can follow that up or whether she disappears
Yeah.
off the face of the earth. As I've noticed historically, not saying JP's particularly or any owner or trainer, but I've noticed plenty of horses that suddenly get backed, win comfortably, and then you never see them in the first 5
Yeah.
again after that. So not good. And then on the other good news, it's one of those weeks again, ladies and gentlemen. Walkovers. I know these are my
Walkovers.
Ron's favourite subjects.
Yeah. We've had 3 in a week. and 4 in a month. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It took me back to when the BHA were saying, we're going to make sure no race has less than 8 runners. And I'm thinking, where did that go? My theory is, you've asked, what can we do about them?
Hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, if 8 horses aren't declared, the race is void. Just void the race. If you haven't got 8 decks, void the race.
Say that to the owner of the. It might have been a walkover, but even if it hadn't been, say that to the owner of the horse that won it in a 2 horse, 3 horse, 4 horse, etc. race.
Shouldn't matter. Shouldn't matter.
Do they get their entry fees back?
I would give them their entry fees back. If there's not more than 7 declared to run, everybody gets their entry fee back. End of story. No race, no farce. You said the day before, because I pointed out we'd had a walkover. I think it was at Kempton.
Yeah,
Oh no, that wasn't as at
the
Kempton.
other
There was
way.
one the
Yeah.
day before somewhere else, and you said may well happen again. There's only 2 runners in the first at Kempton tomorrow, and sure enough, eggs make omelettes. 1 runner, if you can call it a runner, because it only walked, didn't it?
It did. I also wonder. The other thing you mentioned is that the race goers have now been deprived of 1 race on a 7 race card. I think it was.
Yeah,
This was down to a vet certificate, by the way. It wasn't down to the going. Most of them have been down to the going because we have
yeah.
had an unusually dry autumn. Though looking out the window, it doesn't feel like that at the moment, does it?
Not up here. No.
What about the sponsors as well? I wonder. Does the sponsor get their money back for sponsoring that race? Because they've had no race take place with their name cloth all over it, and the opportunity to
I
hand out.
suppose they've still had their name in the race program and all the rest of it.
Yeah, not a
In
good
all
look,
the
is it?
newspapers that carry horse racing, and they've still had a massive amount of advertising. They just haven't had a race run in their name.
Yeah,
And if you know that's the jeopardy, then you're in or you're not. I'd rather they lost their money than we have 8,000 quid going to the owner of a horse that's just walked to the start and come back again. That's
yeah.
madness. That.
I think
Absolute madness.
it's the betting turnover as well from racing's overall financial perspective.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know whether I would imagine they don't pay media rights on a race that doesn't take place. Why would you? So that's not gone into racing's coffers, I would assume. I'll have to double check on that because I genuinely don't know. No betting turnover, obviously. So nothing going in via the levy from bookmaker profits on that particular race. I accept that's a blip in the ocean in the great scheme of things, but it's still a few quid that's disappearing each time. And I'd like to see 8 run a race all the time. Of course I would. I don't think
yeah,
that's realistic, unfortunately. I'd certainly like to see more, I've said this before, more win and you're in type contests, whereas
yeah. I
it
agree
doesn't
with that.
necessarily have to be Cheltenham. There could be a big race at Uttoxeter in February, for want of making something up, where if you haven't run in one of the qualifiers, like the Potence qualifiers, then you can't go to that big pot later in the season. That might encourage more. I think everyone's saying it's really down to the weather at the moment. That's what they were talking about it, funnily enough, on ITV just before we started recording this. It's largely down to the weather. They're saying that the cross-country course, I know how much you love cross-country races, that was called off because the ground was too firm. It's still too firm. Even after all this rain, it's still too firm out there.
Yeah,
So it's been a bit of a strange one. However, more importantly, is racing looking at what it will do in the future about this. I mean, excuse me, I'm no global warming expert or protagonist, whatever. But if this is the way the weather's going, whether that's a natural cycle or down to man-made emissions, I'm not going to get into that argument. If it's going down this route, is racing taking a big enough step forward? Are they building bigger reservoirs of their own so that they don't need to call on the national water supply to water? Are they putting in bigger and better watering systems so that this doesn't occur? Can't say next year because you can't expect these things to be done overnight, but perhaps in 2 or 3 years' time, if the weather pattern stays like this, is racing prepared? Now, I know the BHA has got something they're looking into on that. I don't know how far down the line they are. This autumn, I suppose it is really, stroke winter, is all the evidence they need that they need to be prepared
yeah,
for future weather changes, which seem to be coming our way for whatever reason.
yeah. Well, it doesn't seem to matter how much rain they get down the southwest of England. The
No.
ground must be so compacted that it's sitting on top and evaporating. Because it pointed out something too. I think it was Wincanton or one of those tracks. They'd put about 80 millimeters of water down themselves after 40 millimeters of rain, and it was still good to firm. And you're thinking to yourself, it can't be getting in So it must just be sitting on the top and evaporating off.
I'm no groundsman, so it's something I'd have to, if I ever get spare 5 minutes, investigate or talk to some people about. But you would imagine that if this happens often enough, and it's happened often enough this winter to make a mark on the sport as a whole,
Yeah.
that they look into that and go, okay, well, if we get this again, the water simply won't go into the ground. What do we need to do about it? And I'm no groundsman. I don't know what the answer to that is, whether it's better drainage, spiking the ground, putting sand under the surface and putting it back. I really don't know. That's all made up. I haven't got a clue. But as long as they're looking into it, that's all they can do. The question is, are they looking into it? That's the question mark. So I should make inquiries on those lines, give them a spare 5 minutes, which, God, that might be in about the year 2029 or something with a bit of luck. Right, moving on. Where have we got next? Oh, this is my favourite and possibly one of
Oh,
yours.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anti-post betting. See it as a
Yeah.
mugs game? You don't. So we'll have a good disagreement on this one.
I don't in as much as when the Cheltenham Festival is finished for this year, 2025, I'm looking ahead at something I've seen that could be a bet in 2026.
Yeah.
But what I'm not looking at is like what you pointed out in the risks of anti-post betting. My
Mm.
daddy Paddy,
Yep.
now 7-1 favourite for the Supreme after he's won a bumper at Huntingdon and a maiden hurdle at Carlisle. Not a bit interested in that, I'll be honest with you. I want a horse that's run at Cheltenham that you know will be back there in 12 months' time. Possibly a herder that's going to go chasing. I love that type of bet, which is how we found the likes of Sprinter Sacra at 16-1 for an Arco and that type of thing. Because you only need one or two of those every decade, and your quid's in. That type of bet, I wouldn't be interested. When we're going to be discussing the itscheltenham.com website a little bit later on, but when I'm doing the anti-post markets for every single race at that meeting, I don't even start until probably mid-December, when you've had a chance to see what the Irish have got and that type of thing. My daddy Paddy wouldn't interest me. It's 7-1 for the Supreme at the moment. Not a chance.
That's why it leapt off the page to me. No offence, it might go and win the Supreme,
Like Scooter, yeah.
pulling handstands. Who knows? But I'm trying to remember, and I didn't bother looking it up, even with the wonders of AI. When's the last Carlisle winner to go on and score at the Cheltenham Festival?
Exactly, yeah.
That's no disrespect to Carlisle. Honestly, as you say, a Cheltenham winner, maybe a Kempton, maybe a Newbury,
Yeah, yeah.
that sort of thing. 7-1 is appalling. I mean, I've written here because it's a story I've been telling for, how long was that? 34 years now. God, that's a scary one. I had anti-post bet for 1,000 guineas, and I looked for an unraced 2-year-old that I'd
Yeah,
heard good things about, and they
yeah,
offered me 25-1. It's never
yeah.
even
It's
seen a
mad,
race.
isn't it?
I didn't put my bet on, and yes, you guessed it, she went and won it. It was Shadid in 1992 when she
Uh,
won 1,000 guineas. But 25-1 for an unraced horse,
it's nuts, isn't it?
it feels like they're trying to take money and almost under false pretenses, really. Because I'd want, like the Grand National, 7-1 the favourite. I want 10-1. My horse gets round the course, let alone wins the race. I know, and that's on the day of the race.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I can't be recommending 7-1. I mean, it makes you need to look, unless you know something from inside the yard that this is the best thing they've got for certain. Nothing
yeah,
will ever get anywhere near it, and you think, well, that
yeah,
yard's a strong enough yard to have a say. Then maybe that second one suddenly becomes a bit of value if
yeah.
you've got that
But you'll
opinion.
never know that.
But a maiden hurdle winner, 7-1 for a festival race. When you think the Irish have won, they've won 9 of the last 13, and this particular horse isn't trained in Ireland, the odds are against you immediately.
But they are, yeah.
And it's got to get to Cheltenham, and it's got to get there in one piece, and it's got to get its preferred ground, and it's got to get its preferred jockey. The too many question marks and not enough
It's
ticks in
but
the right boxes.
maybes. Yeah.
Too many. Well, that didn't take long to rush through that, did it? What have we got next? Oh, yes, this
Now,
story that
yeah.
broke in the Guardian. This is an interesting one. Maybe if it's possible, you could put the link in for people after we've done
I've
this.
actually, yeah, I will put the link up. Yeah, yeah.
Well, did you read it?
I did.
And what
My
did you
first
think?
thought was,
Well, I suppose a brief explanation, and then what did you think?
yeah. Well, apparently, what's happened is a certain bookmaker, and we don't. Do you know the name?
Couldn't possibly comment.
No.
But I
Well,
haven't got.
what it
There
is.
isn't a lawyer sat next to me, so I can't possibly say anything.
Yeah. Well, basically, what's happened is a bookmaker was asked to supply certain bits of financial information to one of the powers that be. And so they did it. But somebody's made a bit of a blooper. And included in the text of the financial bits and bobs that they sent over was, and I believe I read it right, it was white writing on a white background.
Yeah.
It was basically to do with something saying that they were betting offshore for VIP customers, illegal betting, whereby they're not paying tax on it, and they've been collared. If it's true, if it's true.
We have to add that proviso. It's
You have
only a
to add that because they've
story.
got solicitors and lawyers on it. But my first thought was, why is anybody surprised? I mean, it's no different, in my opinion, to millionaires and billionaires who've got all their money stashed in offshore accounts on the Cayman Islands, or those UK companies that have registered their businesses there as well to avoid UK taxation. I recall reading somewhere that there are actually more UK companies registered in the Cayman Islands than there are actually residents of the Cayman Islands. And they're not doing that because they like the sunshine in the Cayman Islands and paying £12 for a box of fish fingers, which is what it costs apparently because there's no tax over there. The trick is not to get caught. But it appears here that carelessness has led someone to getting caught. It will very much now depend, I reckon, on who their friends are in high places as to basically what happens next to them.
I think the problem is it's labelled as an illegal bookmaker.
Yeah,
I suppose it is by our standards and within our rulings, as in the laws that bookmakers have to follow in the UK. If they're registered somewhere else, I'm not sure whether the phrase illegal might not be as accurate as everyone throws it about at. It might not be illegal in the state it's being or the country it's being run from.
yeah,
The issue is that my understanding of it is, or the implication of it is that they've got high roller customers who are going, well, I'm not doing these affordability checks rubbish.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not interested in that. And the bookmakers want, tell you what, why
We'll
don't you
do.
just sign up for this company here?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
don't worry about all that sort of thing over there. You'll be fine. Now, if that's the case, the trouble with that is, A, we live in a politically correct world where looking after problem gamblers is a high priority, and rightly so. If you have a problem, that's different from you and I having a bet. That's someone who's got a problem and they need looking after and support. The antithesis of supporting them, sending them to somewhere where they'll take even bigger bets with no questions asked. Now, there are those who don't want to do affordability checks because they feel it's an affront to their personal freedoms. They don't want to hand over the data. I understand and agree with all of that. But there are also others who don't want to do affordability checks because A, their money might come from illegal means, or B, they would fail affordability checks. Now, if you've got a well-known bookmaker, well, the implication here is it's a well-known household name bookmaker, turning over billions, I believe is what it says in the article,
yeah, yeah,
who are sending potentially problem gamblers to go and bet however much they want with another company, then that's within the Gambling Commission's rules for a licensed bookmaker here. That is a horrendous thing to do, and they need to be strung up and hauled over the coals if that is the case. Also, of course, they have no protection. You can laugh at the Gambling Commission, and I frequently do. I'm not going to pretend I don't. And the Gambling Commission, if they're listening, they know I do. And I'm not very popular for it sometimes. But they do their best with limited resources to do their job, and they're trying to protect you. Well, they can't. If there's no protection, you can put your £1,000 on a 10-to-1 shot. It wins, and they just go, not paying out.
yeah.
Sorry about that. Also, add to that, of course, the fact that income doesn't go into the levy.
Exactly.
Sorry, it's not into the levy, into the calculations for the levy, my mistake. Then it's actually costing racing money as well. And the thing that terrified me the most is pretty much what you said. Well, why is anyone surprised? I was, because I hadn't thought of it. I'm too naive for that. But also, is anyone else up to that? Has anyone got sister book?
Heaven forbid.
What I was reading, and you seem to have looked in more depth than I have, Dimitri, is that in some of these tax haven countries, for want of a better phrase, it's close to impossible to find out who owns a business. Whereas here you've got companies house and registered and directors registered, etc. So even that can be a bit of a minefield. It's not a minefield; it's just impossible over there. So who's to say?
They don't have to document it.
No, well, I'm certainly not going to be stupid enough to name names. But who's to say there aren't other major bookmakers who also have an offshoot company that they own that comes with a totally different name in a different jurisdiction, and they're all doing it now. That's an exaggeration. I don't think for a minute they'll all be doing it, because I think they know if this is proven to be true, then that bookmaker, I would hazard a guess, will lose their license in the UK.
Well, it's like one commentator says in the article, their license will be toast.
Yeah, that'll be gone. Now, I can't imagine, much as I do think bookmakers can be overly greedy on occasions, I can't imagine that any of the major bookmakers would be greedy, or many of the major bookmakers would be greedy enough to go, well, to try and make an extra £1 million there, we'll risk the £100 million we're making over here. I don't see
The
many
way
of them.
I was looking at it was they were scared witless of losing these high roller punters.
Mm,
And so, because they wouldn't take on the affordability checks, and so
yeah.
they've set these things up so that they do keep these high roller punters.
Sounds about right. I'm of an age where I repeat myself regularly. So someone will go, he said that 6 weeks ago, or whatever. I remember years ago, I went to an unnamed bookmaker
Yeah.
over something totally different to horse racing, to be honest, and had a chat with them. And there was an account where basically, in a short term, a guy inherited £1 million and they took the lot of him. Now, and their attitude was, well, if we shut him down and say we can't take this because you're losing too much money, somebody else will have it.
Somewhere else.
So if we don't get that £1 million, one of our rivals will get the £1 million. So we might as well have it. And that sounds like the case here. This high roller is going to go to a black market bookmaker. Let's send him to our black market
Yeah.
bookmaker. How they stop it, I don't know. It's definitely a case of watch this space to see what comes out in the wash on this one. Once or if more details break, I shall be in contact with my colleagues elsewhere who deal with the international side of illegal gambling to see what their thoughts are on it, and where it's going to go from there. But it's a horror show if they're doing that. Really, it's not something we can condone or approve in any way or form.
No.
And it hurts the sport that we love. At the end of the day, we may be here as punters, if you want to call us that, whatever you want to call us. I don't know, commentators, stroke punters. I'm sure we're being called a lot worse by people who are listening.
Yeah, sure we have, yeah.
But it's because we love the sport, and this sort of thing damages the sport badly, costs it financially, makes it look bad in the eyes of all the people out there who would like to stop it given half a chance. And I hope
Yeah.
they stamp down on these people, and stamp down really hard.
Yeah.
Right, this is your bit where you explain all about it'scheltenham.com
Yeah.
and why we're not doing much. We're only doing one race this weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
Only
just the
one race, and
but
that's
Ron will explain.
we're going to do the one race, and that's going to be under duress. The problem we've got is that we've got this storm coming through, and I'm watching the 255 at Cheltenham now as we talk. It's raining, the ground's really soft already. It's going to get worse. You've got Utoxeter, which isn't that far away from Cheltenham. And they're already talking about getting another 20 millimetres of rain overnight. It's already on the soft side. We've got one track that hasn't even updated its going description since Wednesday, or it hadn't when I checked this morning. And I said that there's absolutely no point us trying to put people onto a horse to win a race tomorrow, when the probability is that anything we say now will be poppycock by this time tomorrow afternoon. It's just not even worth thinking about. So what we said we'd do was, we're going to talk about the Paddy Power Gold Cup because it's one of my favourite races of the season. I'm hoping that the horse that I came up with in my profiling, and I'm going to discuss the profiling for this one race that will go out to itscheltenham.com subscribers in about 2 or 3 hours' time, because I want to also tell you about itscheltenham.com. It's a website I built last year, I think it was, maybe the year before, or started building the year before. Because what I've noticed was that every year, around about February, all these books started coming out with stats on this and stats on that. And they were charging people about £15, £20 a shot for one of these books. So I thought, well, why don't I build a website where I constantly update the data that's in the stats sections for every single race being run at the Cheltenham Festival. So you can see what's been winning over the last 25 years, what weight it carried, who the jockey was, who the trainer was, where it had run before, that type of thing. You can then build up your own profile of a horse based on what's on the itscheltenham.com website. But in addition to that, what I'll also do then is I will also profile every single race for every single Cheltenham race that takes place from October up to the end of the festival. No idea how many races that is in total. We've got a 3-day meeting now with about, 20 races. We had a 2-day meeting in October. We've got the New Year's Day meeting. We've got the festival trials day, and then the festival itself. So you're going to have a myriad of things to work with once I've actually got everything in place. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier on then, around about Decemberish, I start introducing the anti-pokes betting for every single race that the bookmakers have priced up. I update that every single week, so you know where the market movers are. And you'll know many of these market movers before some of them have even run a race. So then you can say to yourself, well, I'll put the horse in the tracker. When that runs, they probably think, or they assumedly think, the horse is off first time to get qualified for Cheltenham, that type of thing. So, yeah, it's well worth keeping on top of. And what do I charge for that? £1 a week. On the £52 per annum, you get everything that I produce for Cheltenham right the way through from October to the end of March. It's an absolute steal, in my humble opinion. So now we'll talk about the Cheltenham 220, and this is an example of what I do. It can be found in the very first race today at Cheltenham. I profiled what was a 20-runner conditional jockey's handicap. I got it down to 2 horses, and they finished first and second at 5-1 and 10-1. But also, if you'd have checked the OMS section as well, and the OMS are now a part of everything I do, you will have seen there was 1 horse that was being supported each way. If you see a horse being backed at 14-1, it's each way money that's going on that horse. That horse finished third. So you had the 1, 2, 3 in what was a 20-runner conditional jockey's handicap when I started working on the race. It went down to 18. But the trifecta paid £1,080. And that information was there for you to play around with. And I do that for every single race at every single Cheltenham meeting. It'll cost you £1 a week. If there's anything out there like it, I haven't seen it. So should we talk about the Paddy Power Gold Cup?
Only if I can butt in first and say you just
Sure.
dissed a load of books that I wrote, but never mind.
Sorry about that.
No,
Well, I tell you what, you're more than welcome to join me in this venture.
I will, of course. I'll
Yeah,
sign up
I
for that
tell
and
you
see
what,
what. Having just watched John
once
Bond
this
gets
gets
tough.
out in the open, it will be unbelievable. You might say, well, what's he going to do with all that money? Just wait until you see what we do with all that money. I'm not interested in money. I'm nearly 70 years of age now. I'm not interested in money. Doesn't bother me. So what I do is, and there's many members out there will verify this, is I use the money for the members. So we'll go racing. We'll go and support racing's charities. We'll meet up at racetracks and give the charities a nice big check. And I mean a nice big check.
Good on you.
You know, and everybody will benefit from it. The members themselves will benefit from it, not just by the work that we produce, but from the money that they put into the pot. That's the way I've always worked. I never borrow money to do any of this. Everything is, as my accountant says, organic, which he loves, and it works a treat. Now, I'll get you back in the winners' enclosure, and I will also get you to Cheltenham with a horse in 4 years' time. That's my promise. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Yeah, I'm waiting forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing those colours. Doesn't matter where it finishes on the Cheltenham racecourse.
He'll
Dream come
probably
true.
he'll sack me the week before, so I don't get to go. I'll know what he's like. Go on,
Anyway,
then,
let's do the Paddy Power Gold Cup.
go on, then. You can go first because you're the boss, and I'll probably just repeat
Yeah,
most of what
okay.
you said afterwards. So
It's
go
one of
for
my
it.
favourite races of the season, always has been. Now, in the last 20 years, it's gone to a horse age 7, 50% of those races. Now, you might say, well, that's only 1 in 2. But that, as far as I'm concerned, that's a heck of a stat. Because in those 20 years, horses aged 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 have all taken first prize in that time span. So 7-year-olds have also won the last 2 renewals as well. And I've made that my go-to range for the race this year. It gives me a list of 6. Coming Up Easy, Vincenzo, Theatre Native, Conyers Hill, Ho Jolie Smoke, and Issar Dairy. The way I work next is I always then start looking at the weight ranges of all the winners from the past 20 years. And they span everything from 10 stone 2 to 11 stone 11. But I think I've worked out the dominant range will be round about 10 stone 13 to 11 stone 7. So there's 4 in that initial list that qualify for the second list, and they are Coming Up Easy, Vincenzo, Theatre Native, and Conyers Hill. I've got down to 4, and I will Dutch those 4 because Dutching's what I do, as we discussed in week 2 of the demystifying. We've had just one winner favourite in the last 10 years. And in that decade, we've seen winners returning 10 to 1, 12 to 1, 25 to 1, 14 to 1, and 10 to 1. But 5 of the last 9 winners were sitting front 4 on the tissue. I look at that list of 4, I've got 1. Enzo. It's the only qualifier, and that has to be my profile selection. Are there any negatives about the horse? Well, yeah, there is. If he wins this on seasonal debut, he'll be just the second to do that in the last 10 years. But 7 of the last 20 have done it, and that includes Stage Star, who won it in 2023. I'm putting up Vincenzo as a banker 2080 in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, if he handles heavy ground, as I think it probably will be tomorrow.
As a quick reminder there, 2080 is 20% of your stake to win, 80% of your stake to place, just to, because I don't do that. Okay, I've gone through pretty much the same things as you said. I did the last 15 years. It's prices from as short as 4 to 1 up to 25 to 1. 13 of the 14 who finished on their previous start came home in the first 6. None who were pulled up or unseated went on to win. All were aged 9 or younger.
Yeah.
14 were officially rated 137 or above. 14 rated 156 or lower. None has raced in the last 7 days, etc., etc. They're probably nodding off now, so I'll just quickly I should fast forward myself through and end up with last year's winner, Il Ridotto, for Paul Nicholls at 6 to 1 as a solid each way bet. Now, if you look at it, he fits all the provisos above, and which left me with a short list of 7 horses, which not ideal, but at least it's half of the field gone. He's one off just £1 lower than this, whereas all the others in my final list of 7 were running from £5, £6, £10 more than they've ever won off before. So can they improve and do it? Of course they can, but they haven't done, not yet. Whereas he's very, very close to that. He won it last year off a rating of 141. He runs off a rating of 142 this year. I had a recent run when second at Chepstow, where he was fairly weak in the betting, which suggests to me that he might have needed the run, and that might have been to put him straight. I could be clutching at straws here, of course, ladies and gentlemen. You realise that. But hopefully that will have put him straight. Risking the ground at 33 to 1. He could go well, you know.
I know,
He should not be that price. If you want something at a bigger price, he shouldn't be that price. He's effectively £3 will in because he's due to go up £3 for future races after this, which isn't a great deal in National Hunt terms, but it's something. And then Tristan Dorrell claims another £3 off his back. So he's potentially £6 well in. And yet, when I looked at the time of writing, he was a 33 to 1 shot. You could do a lot worse than him as an each way option. That's for sure. But if I had to pick one, and sadly I do, I'd go with Il Ridotto. But as we said earlier, with a proviso that this is chit chat more than anything else, because
it is.
we just have no idea. I mean, John Bond's just finished exhausted by the look of it.
Well, as was predicted in profiling, you may notice.
No, I didn't notice.
We got the winner of that race as well at 100 to 30.
Oh, well done, well done.
Well.
I mean, John Bond should have eaten them alive, really. And they were all saying beforehand the ground will be ideal.
Said no. The stats said no.
There
hasn't been a horse won that race 3 times in succession. Wrong age. His Cheltenham form is minging. What's that? 2 from 10 now or something like that? 2 from 7. Now, he's not a Cheltenham horse. He was too old and he couldn't win it 3 times on the bounce. So we put up loads of sud, even though he was £10 worse off with the horse. Profiling nailed it.
Well, all I can say is well done. And would you tell my bookmaker that went off with all my losing bets on John Bond? But yeah. No, I didn't have. I'm not having a bet on anything in this ground.
No.
It's not. My wallet's staying firmly closed for the moment, if nothing else. Right, where else have we got to get to next? We are bypassing all the races we were going to do for the reasons we explained. So
I'm not doing any OMS.
No, so we're down to
definitely not doing something from the weekend. So it's not there. There's nothing for the weekend. So we're going to demystify racing a little bit for them.
Yeah, go for it. You can go for this one because it makes my eyes water. You ever go at this one?
Yeah. Gelding. Termed the unkindest cut of all. And I'll be as blunt as I possibly can be, it's basically when they remove the horse's testicles. And it does, unless the horse is going to the breeding sheds to be worth about £250,000 every time he mates with a mare, then he's going to be a handicapper and he's no good to anybody in the breeding sheds at the end of his career. Probably going to be a polo horse or something like that. So what they do is, and it seems to work, is they remove his testicles. And that is called gelding. And it makes them run faster. It also keeps their mind on the job of racing and not the fillies that are walking around the parade ring in front of them, as many a punter will have seen in the past what that can actually do. And you've basically then got a horse that's run his race before he's even got a jockey in the saddle. So that is my interpretation of gelding. Would you have anything to add to that?
Just a fraction that there is talk at the moment, and they're trying to veterinarily prove it, that when a horse is gelded, it loses its testosterone or a large percentage of it, and therefore geldings do not actually have an advantage physically over empires as the opposite is, because what they they usually gain some muscle and some weight after being gelded. That's my understanding. I'm open to correction.
Yeah,
And as you say, they don't look at the fillies in the paddock. So I'm just hoping my wife's not listening to this. But yeah, so they focus more on the job. But what they gain in physical prowess, they can lose in the testosterone. And there's an argument going on to attempt to allow. There's some group races where geldings are not allowed. Now,
you're not allowed. Yeah, yeah,
in my opinion, the reality is it's because they want those group winners to be black typed and available to go off to the breeding sheds and make their
yeah,
fortunes there. That's my
yeah.
own honest opinion. Though racing will occasionally claim that it's actually because they think geldings have an advantage and it's not fair. Now, I don't believe that for a moment, to be honest with you. But there is an argument to say that it actually balances itself out and that geldings should be allowed to run in group races as well. I suppose that's a conversation for another time, really, isn't it?
Well, it is. Yeah.
We didn't know
Next
we were
time it
going to
happens. Yeah.
we weren't heading down that avenue until the conversation took place, so we didn't know. But yeah, that's basically what it is. Uh, Also, as someone said, why are all the male horses over the jumps? Why are they all geldings? Why aren't they kept for breeding?
Well, some of them aren't. You know, there are entires that go over hurdles. I wouldn't want to be one.
No, well, someone said to me, "Would you?" Again watching moderate my language. Would you want to jump over a hard wooden fence and you land the other side, but your testicles stay stuck to the top of the fence? No, no, you probably
Oh, thank
wouldn't.
you.
So that's another reason it's done, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Health and safety, really, for the horses' sake.
I would imagine. Yeah.
That's it. If you've got anything you want to write in about for demystifying, we're not
Yeah,
running out
do
of
it.
ideas. We'll think of some others, but
I'll put an email address down the bottom.
please do. So I think we're trying to answer questions that we think you might ask, and I just imagine,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
with gelding, 89 out of 100 of you have just gone, well, I already know
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, yeah. I've been in racing all my life.
Yeah, but the one person didn't. So there's now one
Yeah,
person who does. Um,
yeah,
and the same will apply with potentially whatever we come up with next week.
yeah, yeah,
However, if you've got something that you'd like explaining, even if we have to go looking it up,
yeah,
then please write in and let us know.
yeah. Because the way I always look at it is, if somebody's thinking it, somebody else is thinking it. You know. So yeah, feel free. You
Go
can
for it.
even have your question down below, because I'll read it. I'll read it and make a note.
Very clever, very clever. You and your techno babble. Surprised he's
Oh,
not on
what a
TikTok.
waste I've been. Yeah.
I'll have him on TikTok next, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry.
No, he won't.
I'll have him twerking while singing out the
He
winner of the
won't.
3:30 at Chepstow. Right, it's a short one this week because we've not gone
It's
through all
about the
those
same
horses.
length as last week, which, considering we covered races as well last week.
Yeah. Ron's quite right. We don't want to. It may not feel that way, but I never intend to tip anyone a loser. That's never the concept. It just it happens. Of course, it happens.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
never the concept. And we both looked at this and thought, not really sure we can do any confident.
No, if I was trying to predict a horse in a race for tomorrow, it'd probably end up a non-runner now.
No doubt. One thing I'd like to add, and it's not a tip, okay? Don't take this as a tip. There's a horse running at Wetherby tomorrow called Queros, Cueros, in the
All right.
3:10 at Wetherby. Won its only start over hurdles at Fontwell. The interesting thing about him is I don't really know how good that form is. I'm not going to say he's going to win or anything along those lines. But Patrick Mullins is over, and it's his only ride on the entire card. Now, whether you see that as a hint or not a hint, I leave that entirely up to you.
Hmm.
But An interesting thing to note, if nothing else.
Did you also know that at Cheltenham tomorrow, I think it's in the first race, there's an ex-Godolphin Frankel horse
No.
trained by Gavin Cromwell.
Wow, I didn't notice that. No. See,
Yeah.
these things you notice when you're digging deep.
It ran twice for Charlie Appleby, did nothing. Went to Kevin Philippart de Foy, had one race, did nothing. So they sent it over to Gavin Cromwell.
Hmm.
And he's won 2 races with it so far, one on the flat and one over hurdles.
Which
And
which
it'll
Frankel
go off
hurdler?
about 9-2 to win the first race tomorrow. Frankel over hurdles. Is he the first?
I don't think he's the first. I think I've spotted a couple in the past, but
All right.
I think there's too many of them. Is that's not the same race as Ambient Friendly, is it?
No,
Well, you're talking tomorrow on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday, the 2024 Derby second and Irish Derby third turns out over hurdles at Cheltenham.
tell you.
It's a never-ending spiral, this sport. There's
It is,
always
isn't it?
something
Oh, don't you just love this game? It's great, isn't it?
because there's always things you spot and you go, "What about that? What if? What
Yeah.
if?" And it's usually "what if," and then no afterwards. But it's the fun of looking. Right, I could talk this sport forever, and I know you can.
We could get this to an hour just waffling on, couldn't we?
Yeah, and we don't want to alienate the.
We want you to come back next week.
Yeah. Right. In that case, we'll sign off there. Have a good weekend. I hope it stays dry wherever you are.
Yeah.
Interested in a minute to listen to what Nicky Henderson says about John Bon, but we'll wait and
Well,
see.
what he'll say is that Ron said in his article,
That's it. I read that I didn't have a chance, so we went easy on him. Yeah, that was it.
yeah.
Right, have a good one. I'm gonna sign off before we waffle on any further, mate. So
Yeah.
okay,
See you next time.
have a
Take
good
care.
weekend, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.